Where'd it go? And good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website, our podcast, and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website or YouTube along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 74 where it says, if we cannot or would rather not, and it will end on page 75 where it says, Spirit of the Universe. And our study tonight will start on page 75, returning home we find a place, and will end on page 76, we have then completed step 7. And do we have any announcements? Doesn't look like it.
Good evening, everyone. I am a recovered alcoholic and my name is Alyssa. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book Study meeting, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing as not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all use proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focused on your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time. Go ahead. Sorry.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study. Enjoy your time with God.
Can't hear Alyssa.
Ex benedictus
And if you would join us in our family's fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Aaron.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Aaron, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Art to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be recovered, a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Art.
Good evening, folks. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured. That presents a problem or a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we're not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, Art, and thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse. And the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands for people? Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Welcome, Alana.
Welcome.
And LaDonna and Debbie. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Glad you're here. And can we have a show of hands of the recovered alcoholics? These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone?
Doesn't look like it.
If you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by Buzzard Mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo or PayPal posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. And please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you, Aaron. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out in which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligation and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 10. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 11. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And come on in, Terry.
Hi everybody, I'm Terry, aka Pickle Chips, your recovered alcoholic traditionalist for 3 weeks. So just Tradition 10, 11, and 12. So tonight we're on Tradition 11, which the short form states our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. The long form says our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising. Our names and pictures as AA members ought not be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. There's never a need to praise ourselves. We feel it better to let our friends recommend us. That pretty much says it all. You know, I've been reading all this stuff, looking up stuff to talk about with this step, but the long form pretty much says it all. You know, we don't need to advertise. You know, a good example in one of the books talks about, you know, the political parties advertising and touting how wonderful they are, which is going on right now in our history. But we don't need to do that in Alcoholics Anonymous. In fact, there was a time, well, actually, what I read too is that this tradition wasn't even necessary for a very long time because there wasn't any way of advertising, you know, people getting online or press, radio, and films. But it's when the public figures started saying, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the old timers at one of the meetings I used to go to cited a famous movie actor or actress. I don't remember who it was, but they kept advertising that they were members of Alcoholics Anonymous, and then they relapsed. And it caused some real big problems with AA, as people were thinking AA doesn't work because they watched this public figure try it and relapse. So anyway, our founders felt it was necessary to write a tradition. You know, today we've even added some of the readings that I've heard say press, radio, television, and internet, because I've seen people on the internet advertising by using their name. And this is really frowned upon. Would rather have our friends recommend us and people wanting what we have. Because that's how a lot of people come to this program, is they see you, they listen to you, and they want what you have. And that's how we got to this step. That things injured. So anyway, there's a lot going on here. I have out-of-town guests and things are crazy. But like I said, Tradition 11 long form says it way better than I could ever say it. So That's all I got. I couldn't really dig up too much. Oh, wait. I do have the 12 and 12. Okay, so the 11th step represents far more than a sound public relations policy. It is more than a denial of self-seeking. This tradition is a constant and practical reminder that personal ambition has no place in AA. In it, each member becomes an active guardian of our fellowship. I like that part. So we're each responsible to be an active guardian of our fellowship. Thanks for letting me share. I'll see you next week for Tradition 12.
Thank you, Miss Terry. All right. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. What follows is one of the things we often hear, along with what the Big Book has to say. Kenny, would you like to read?
Yes, I'm Kenny. I'm alcoholic. We do not pronounce any individual as alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It will not take long for you to decide if you are honest with yourself about it. It may be worth a bad case of the jitters if you get the full knowledge of your condition. Thank you.
And that's talking about what we hear in the rooms where people say, don't drink no matter what. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Clift of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we're going to start our recap on page 74, which will be read by Nancy, followed by our study portion starting on page 75, and that'll be read by Larry.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where our study portion began on page 75. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer, split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know that your time is finished, or I'll send the terrible toddlers after you.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teachings and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And before we start our study, let's take a look at how we got here. We're in our 4th year of this study, and we're in our 3rd time of going through the book. Our study is 94 weeks, and we start on the title page where we see our first promise, which states how thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. We read all the way through page 164, including Appendix 2, the spiritual experience, 3 different times when the footnotes refer us to that. We also spend a few weeks in Dr. Bob's Nightmare, 2 weeks on the traditions, and then on week 94, our last week, we have a standalone study just on the spiritual experience because that part is so important to our program of recovery and our spiritual life. And then once we get to the end, we go all the way back and start over again. And, as many times as I've read through this book, I've never learned as much as I have by doing it in this question and answer format. And each time we go through it, I find new things.
All right. So before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of the answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it on our website and our YouTube channel.
So we got hands going up. Come on in, Nancy.
Okay, Nancy Alcoholic. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one is so situated that there is no suitable persons available. If that is so, no, right? I start with if I cannot, right?
Yes.
Sorry. If we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintance for a close-mouthed, understanding friend. Perhaps our doctor or psychologist will be the person. It may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives or our parents, which will hurt them and make them unhappy. If we have no right to save our own skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we turn to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one is so situated that there is no suitable person available. If that is so, these steps may be postponed. Only, however, if we hold ourselves with complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. It is important that he be able to keep confidence, that he fully understand and approve what we are driving at, that he will not try to change our plans, but we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have a written inventory and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we are about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we are engaged upon life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our tears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come struggling. We feel we are on the broad highway. Highway walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nancy. Now Larry is going to come in and read our study portion. Larry, ask you to unmute.
Sorry about that. I'm Larry and I'm an alcoholic. Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from the shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, or we are building an ark through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skipped on the cement part in our foot into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. As we now ready, and we now ready to let God remove from us all things which we have omitted are objectable. Can He now take them all, every one? If we still cling to anything we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. When ready, we say something like this: My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7.
Thank you, Larry. All right. For our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones. We will ask the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence, coming directly out of this week's study, beginning with the first sentence and ending with the last one. If those answering questions lose their place, please allow me to direct them to the correct sentence. We will now open the... All right, so first up, I have Linda, and then Kenny, William, Art, Nicole, and Nancy. All right, so Miss Linda, and if you guys could all unmute. So Miss Linda, you have a 2-part question. Returning home, what do we do and for how long? And we very carefully do what?
Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done.
And I will be coming in with a few comments tonight, and the first one is now. And it says, the following prayer is the first 5th step prayer.
Penny, what do we thank God? Or why do we thank God, excuse me?
We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better.
Thank you. William, two-part question. What do we do then? We turn to what page?
Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Careful reading the first
That's
five proposals. First five proposals.
Yep.
We ask if we
Thank
have.
you.
Stop at 12 steps.
Oh, okay.
Thank you,
Okay, I'm
William.
sorry.
Art, you get a three-part question. What do we do then? What do we ask for? What are we in the process of building?
Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything. For we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last.
The first 5 proposals are the first 5 steps.
Thank you. Nicole, is it really important that we do this thoroughly? 4 sentences.
Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand?
And now we look at the when.
Miss Nancy,
Oh,
if we know how, if we know we have done the very best we can, have held back no secrets in steps 4 and 5, can we look at what?
if we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6.
And the how.
Linda, what have the first 100 emphasized as absolutely necessary?
We have, is it right here, we have emphasized?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, we have emphasized willingness as being indispensable.
To be successful in this program, we must be completely willing to follow the clear-cut directions the first 100 laid down for us in this book. They are just reminding us of that fact at this point in our recovery.
Penny, are we really ready to have God do what? The sentence that starts, are we now?
Are we now ready to let God remove all from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable?
And
Thank you.
and the what?
William, what question is running through our mind at this point? Can he now?
Oh, you're muted, William. William, you are muted.
I don't know how that happened. I must have somebody here with me. No, I lost.
No.
Okay. Can he not take them all? Everyone.
Thank
Yeah, can he not take them all? Everyone.
And the following is the 6th step prayer.
Art. If we have one or more character defects we are unwilling to part with, what do we do?
If we still cling to something we will not let go of, we ask God to help us be willing.
If we truly have the willingness to continue our study of the steps and apply them to our lives, then we are ready. And here is the how.
Nicole, when we are ready, what do we do? Read to the cold.
When ready, we say something like this.
Miss Nancy, what parts of our lives are we willing to let him take?
Oh, is that me?
Yes.
My credo, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad.
Thank you. Linda, what do we ask him to remove?
I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows.
Thank you. Kenny, we ask him to grant us what?
Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen.
William, how do we know we have completed this prayer?
You have then completed step 7.
You get the word amen, William.
Amen.
Amen.
Review the formal prayer on page 63 and notice what was not concluded. There is no amen after the 3rd step prayer. The amen in the 7th step prayer brings the cycle of 5 steps to a conclusion. These may be considered as a single prayer, including the prayers in steps 4, 5, and 6. To learn what it is, we must be willing to have him remove and promise him that we have the willingness to do our part. We can then ask him to do his part. And the what?
Okay, Art, final question. What more do we do with step 7? Oh, Art. What more do we do with step 7?
I thought we were done. Okay.
You get the last sentence of that paragraph.
We have then completed step 7.
Thank you.
Is that what you wanted?
Yes,
Somebody already
sir.
read that. Okay, somebody already read that. Okay.
Thank you. So we will now open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. A friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. We are open for comment, questions, observations based on what we have just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. And thank you for our answer readers. Who is going to kick us off? Jamie, Mr. Pickles, come in and share with us.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic. And what does that mean? It means that I have recovered from the hopeless state of mind and body. Steps 3 through 9. And this is part of it. And in the 3rd step, I'm asked to do something that I don't know how, to give something that I don't know what it is and give it to somebody who I don't know who it is. I'm asked to make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. So it was mentioned in the comments that this prayer completes the cycle of 5 steps. Steps 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it's through the process of steps 4, 5, 6, and 7 that I learn how to turn my will and my life. Not really sure what that is, but I discover it in step 4 over to the care of God as I understand Him. And this is also the beginning of the development of that relationship. I may have come from spiritual and religious beliefs in my life, but this gives me an entirely different perspective, and rather than putting my life with God on a religious nature, it puts it in a mode of spiritual growth as I go through the discoveries about myself. So, the only place that I deviate from the directions of the book is returning home, we take the book down off our shelves. Now, I did that when I spent about 4 or 5 hours with my sponsor doing my fourth and fifth step. But over the years, I have learned how to practice this with others a little bit differently. When they come to my house, or even in Zoom, we spend that 4 or 5 hours together through the entirety of the process. And the reason that I deviate from that particular part of the book is I have not known many alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous who have relapsed. And when I ask them what happened, they're like, well, I did steps 4 and 5, but they never did steps 6 and 7. So it becomes an assurance to me that they are walked through the process of steps 6 and 7 as well. So after we do our fourth and fifth step work, I give them some quiet time at my house to reflect on things. Come back, ask them if they feel that there's been anything that is still troubling them about that fourth and fifth step. And if not, we sit and we read together, and we go into step 6. And that question comes, are you willing to let God remove these things from you that you've found objectionable? And we review that first 5 proposals thoroughly. We talk about them. I have found in my experience, it's real difficult for me to have clear communication with myself when I'm in my head. So oftentimes having somebody else to talk through these things through, I have found to be very effective. And then we do that 6th and 7th step prayer together. We hit our knees, we hold our hands. And if they have done their 7th step, all the work to this point correctly, they have their 8th step list in their hand, and they made it when they took their 4th step, when they did the 4th step work. So I have found it to be a very effective tool. I wish I could say everyone that I did it with this way has stayed sober. Unfortunately, they have not. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they took some of their will back rather than letting God keep it. But here's what I know from myself. As I continue to go through the process of the steps, it is important for me to continue to do inventory work on myself. And I know what all of my defects of character are, and every now and then some of them rear their ugly little heads. Today was one of them, and I acted in one of my defects of character, which is snap anger. And I said some things to someone that while the things may be true, the way that I expressed them was in a very inappropriate manner. I could have been far more eloquent in expressing what I needed to say. Now, the reason that I tell you all of that is because after the last line that Art read, we have then completed step 7. I don't know about your big books, folks, but it does not say in mine, congratulations, Jamie, you just completed step 7. You now get to control and manipulate your defects of character to have the outcome that you want them to have.
Yeah, I've been there.
I do not know, Trish, you have a hot mic. I do not know what is or what is not of use to God in my life, in any case. But in acting in this defective character today, it is a reminder to me that I am still very susceptible to emotions, defects of character, and negative actions if I react to them rather than respond to them. I have come to the belief that the reason for this is God, by not removing all those defects of character, especially like anger, to allow me to remain teachable. And if I remain teachable through my own actions, good or bad, the chances are that I may get to experience some humility on my journey. Now, I honestly feel bad about what I said today, regardless of whether or not it was true. Because I could have expressed what I was trying to say in a kinder, more loving, understanding way of communicating, and I did not. And for that part, I am responsible. And that means that amends are necessary for me to set things right in those areas of my life. The interesting thing about our process, all through step 3 to step 11, step 3 and step 11 are all connected. But each one of the individual steps, especially the 3 steps that we are on tonight, 5, 6, and 7, are all part of the link in the chain that tether steps 3 and step 11 together. And you know what the truth is, folks? If I only do a 4 and 5, and I don't take a look at the rest of everything about me, it's not about you. It's not about what the rest of the world is doing, but it's about what I'm doing. If I don't continue to take an honest look at that when I'm acting in those defects of character, then I am moving back into narcissism, control, manipulation of others. And chances are that the pain will become so emotionally painful someday that I just might pick up a drink. So for me, steps 6 and 7 are not a one-time deal. They are a continued process of where, as I do the 10th and 11th step inventories, they always cycle me back down to a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th step every time. And I love the way that they're all connected, because it's the only hope for an alcoholic like me. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jamie. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Larry, come in and share with us.
Yeah, I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic. I know for me, when I did day 6 and 7, my sponsor kind of did all 3 of them at the same time at a picnic table one night out in the park. And it was good. I think he told me to go home and get it down on my knees every morning and say the 7th prayer when I got up. And he told me to get on my knees, and he told me that he said that was a suggestion. He just suggested it to me. He said I didn't have to. He said I could lay in bed and do it, but he felt getting on my knees was an act of surrender. And so that's kind of what I try to do. I don't always do it, but I try to. And it's worked for me pretty good. I remember, that things worked pretty quickly after that for me, in the steps after I got through all that. And I felt a lot better. I felt more spiritually connected in somewhat. Although my connection was still his God, and he changed that later on in my program. But I found after getting my own connection with God and reading these steps, I started reading the Big Book and started doing it more exactly like the Big Book has it. And these steps mean so much more to me. A few months ago, I took a guy through this process, and I had an experience with one guy, and I know we read in the promises, the very beginning, it says, if we are painstaking about the phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. And, this is where that miracle begins to amaze us. And I knew it, but I never saw it happen like I saw it in this man's life. His name was Tommy, and he had been having trouble with the fourth step, but we worked through it. We got it. We got through the fourth step. We did, and he finally did all that he needed to do. And we did the fifth step. He did the fifth step, and then we got to this part, where, and I told him before this, I said, I want you to go home. Before we do this fifth step, I want you to go home. And I want you to review all the 5 steps that we've taken. I want you to make sure that you have done everything properly. Because that's kind of what the Big Book's talking about. And I want you to think about how you took these steps, and did you take these steps honestly? Did you take it with a honest heart and with the right spirit? And did you do it with surrendering to a power that is greater than you, or did you try to do it on your own power? And just ask yourself on each step, and did you do it by surrender, or did you do it under your own power, you feel? And be honest. And so he went home, and he called me about 11:30 at night. Of course, he knew my sleep schedule, and he knew that I'd probably be up, so that wasn't a problem for me. And he was kind of. I've never known Tommy to really be crying, but I kind of heard some tears, in his voice. He said, "I believe that everything that I've done thus far has been correct." I said, "Okay. Do you want me to come over?" He said, "Yes." And at 11:30 at night, I came over there and we did the sixth step. I asked him, "Are you willing?" And we prayed the sixth step prayer. And I asked him if there's anything he's not willing to give to God, to ask God for willingness to do it. And he did that. And then he took the seventh step with me. And I never saw anybody take it with so much earnestness as I saw Tommy do this. More than I ever did the first time, I know. All I can do is witness what happened. And that's why this process that this book has means so much to me. Because I saw it in action this time. And he took it. The next night we had a meeting. Now Tommy had been sick for so long. He had asthma. He had emphysema. He had COPD. He had every kind of lung and pulmonary disease you could think of, and so he couldn't hardly sleep, and he had nightmares from his days in the military, and he came to the meeting the next night, and I saw him walk in without his defibrillator or breathing apparatus that he always wore to help him breathe. That was the first thing I noticed. And I said, "Where's your breathing machine?" He said, "Don't need it." He said, "I've been breathing fine all day." He said, "I don't know the situation. I'll use it when I need it. I'm not getting rid of it, but right today I haven't needed it." He said, "And another thing, I slept peaceful all night long. The first time in probably 10 years that I had a whole peaceful night's sleep." And he said, "And I know that it was because of taking those steps last night." Now, I know that it doesn't happen to everybody like that. I know that because it didn't happen to me like that. But you know why I believe it happened to Tommy like that? You know why such a drastic change happened to Tommy? You know what such a great God we have? 2 weeks' time, Tommy fell on some ice in his backyard, and he got a blood clot which went to his brain. Now, when they took the X-ray, they took it and found that he had a large mass on his brain. which was the reason he couldn't remember nothing, why he had trouble doing the fourth step. He couldn't remember hardly anything. He'd read something and forget it. He was in fourth stage brain cancer and was dying and had and was probably going to be in severe pain at any time, but he had a blood clot, went to his brain, had a bleed out, went into a coma, and slipped on out. And I believe Tommy's in a better place. God had mercy on him. God took him, and he didn't have to suffer. And he went away sober, happy. And his family saw him happy. He'd been sober for over a year, struggling, but in just 3 steps, that peace came from doing these steps just the way they have it. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Before we're halfway through, we will begin to be amazed before we're halfway through. God will begin to change our lives. I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic, and I believe, in my opinion, what I call a miracle. Some people might call it a grace. Whatever we call it, I believe Tommy is happy. I know he was happy for 2 weeks like I'd never seen him before. And I just thank this program for that and what it can do to one life and what it's done for mine. I'm Larry, and I'm not Bob.
Thank you, Larry. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing that experience, strength, and hope with us. Trish, come in and share with us.
Hey everybody, I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And I learned early on, although I didn't realize it, the difference between doing this 5th step and then moving into step 6 and 7 with someone in the program as opposed to not. My first 5th step I did with someone who said they knew the program, and she was my counselor, so I wanted to trust that her licensing and her obligation by law to not say anything more than trusting someone in the program. And when I did that first 4th step, when I look at the questions in the book, is our work solid so far? Are the stones set properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? And have we tried to make mortar without sand? None of that applied with that first 5th step, because I knew walking away that there were things I left out. There was 1 or 2 specific things left out. I was thorough in my writing, but I was not thorough in my sharing because I still carried so much shame in some of my actions. And it was a couple of years later, before I found someone in the rooms, that I was able to share with the things that I had left out. And that was the time that the peace came. That's when I was able to move on with step 6 and step 7 at that point. Not to say that other things in life didn't come up after that I put off and put off and put off. Because I look back at that first experience, not yet connecting that because it was somebody not well versed in the program who didn't know how to direct me, who didn't ask if I had left anything out. But as a result of that, oftentimes if I'm listening to a fifth step, I will ask at the end, is there anything that you're holding back on? Because I know what that feels like. And while at the time it didn't lead me back out to drink, it did keep me miserable for a while, because I wasn't honest with myself, with someone else, or with God. And while I was still clinging to something, I also wasn't willing to let it go. As it says a little bit further on, if we still cling to something, we will not let go if we ask God to help us be willing. I knew I was holding on to it, and I wasn't willing to let go of it at that point. So doing the sixth and seventh step were incomplete, because I wasn't willing to let go of everything. I wasn't willing to share everything with someone else. I knew it, God knew it, but I was too ashamed to tell another person. But once I got past that shame, by talking to other people in the rooms, by listening to other people share things in the rooms, by things that they shared with me one-on-one, I was finally able to let go of that. And that's where the freedom started coming for me, of recognizing that I can't hold on to anything. And I've got to let go of everything. Letting go to God, letting go to someone else. And I can't just do these steps in my head. I can't just do these steps with myself. I need someone else to help direct and point out things that I may not see. Either because I don't see them or because I don't want to see them. But once I'm able to share the parts of me that I'm clinging onto so tightly with another person, that's where the freedom comes in. And then I can honestly say that prayer, I'm willing that you have all of me, good and bad. And then ask to have every single defect of character, not just the ones I'm willing to let go of, but every single one. Thanks.
Thank you, Trish. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Miss Linda, come in and share with us.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for what you shared. It was the person before Trish. He was sharing, and I almost started crying. It's really sad. I almost started crying. But we get our peace when we're going to get our peace, and God knows. And at least he had his peace, once he passed, and he could go peacefully, That makes me think about this fifth step and the fourth step, especially the fifth step, and the sixth step, and all those character defects. And am I ready? Am I really ready to let everything go 100%? Because if I'm not, and I'm still holding on, then it's like I'm stuck in that fourth and that fifth step. I'm stuck in that abyss. It's like a black hole. I'm spinning my wheels. I have to be ready. I have to talk to God. It's between me and God. And I have to really be ready to have all these defects of characters removed. And if I'm going to be able to do that, first I need to have faith and trust in God. If I don't have any faith, if I don't have any trust in God, then it's not going to happen. I have to have enough faith in God that it will be okay for me to let go of those character defects. And I have to be okay to understand it is more about God than me. That I need to be that trusted, humble servant he wants me to be. And I can't if I have those character defects. It's blocking me from the sunlight of the Spirit. So it's more about God than it is about me. Whether I'm ready or not, I need to say it. I need to just keep repeating it, and I need to keep doing it and living it. And then that's it. It'll come. I remember for forgiveness, that was very hard for me. I had so much anger, and I couldn't forgive. And then one person said, yeah, and that's why have anxiety attacks. That's why you feel miserable. That's why this. That's why that. And until I learned to just let all of that stuff, give it to God, that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Reliving something in your mind and getting angry about it and being angry with someone that's not even thinking about you, don't even remember you, that's no good. That's no good for me, for my spirit, for my soul. And then it goes back to it blocking me from the sunlight of the spirit. I cannot get close and have a better relationship with my God if I'm still holding on to all that junk. I'm not. And then I had to let it go. I had to understand, look, Jesus, that's the whole reason, the purpose of his life, to be the Redeemer. And I had to forgive. I had to say that prayer of forgiving with all of my heart, mind, body, soul, spirit, and strength. And I kept saying it. I forgive, and I would take the person's face, picture their face. I forgive. And then another person, I would think of them. I forgive, and I would keep doing it over and over. And I kept doing it over and over and over, so many times, that I learned. I have to forgive. I have to forgive. And I started to feel better. A weight was lifted. It was okay. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. The battle is not mine. It's God's. I have to let this crap go. These resentments. And that was a big character defect for me. Big character defect in my self-will. You have to have faith. You have to have a lot of faith, and you have to have trust that it's going to be okay, that on the other side, and God's moving you into a new thing. He's moving you into a new thing. Are you not ready for it? Are you not ready for it? You have to be ready for it. And saying that I'm not ready, that's not an excuse. Putting off doing that 4th, 5th, and 6th step, and getting to the place of being so humble that you realize and you see it all, and it's like, no, I don't want this. God, please remove it from me. I humbly ask you, I beg of you to remove it from me. Once you come to that point of realization, self-awareness, and you really see yourself, not the way that you thought you were, but you really see yourself for who you are in all reality, and it's like, no, this is not what God wants me to be, or to do, or to live, or to think, or to feel. I'm running on self-will. It is that test for self-will and test for God's will. I want it to always be God's will. I want to always have my will aligned with God. And I'm so glad that this step has it. Humbly ask God to remove these character defects. And that 7-step prayer is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. You're giving it to God. You're giving it all to God. You're trusting God that it's going to be okay to let it go. These survival skills, once you come into the rooms, are now character defects. They're not assets. They're liabilities. And I have to see them as that. Is that what God wants? No, he doesn't want me to hold on to that. My God is moving me into a new thing, into a new life, into a new state of being. I release all of it. And I feel so light as a feather. And then I can be kind. I can be compassionate. I can be patient with people. I don't have worry and fear. Once you really do a 7-step, and you do a thorough one, and you keep doing it, because everything may not be taken away all at once. So you may have to keep doing these steps over and over and over. Because more character defects are going to creep up, because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm not Jesus, I can't get rid of all my character defects. I can't. That's impossible. But there's the glaring ones I must work on. And this step is very spiritual. It's very spiritual. And once I can go ahead and trust God and be truthful and honest with myself that I'm going to let all of this stuff go, I'm going to give it to God, that's when the transformation begins. And then I get closer to God. I'll feel an epiphany. I'll feel it in my heart. When I get closer to God, I will feel it. And it's such a joyful feeling. And I feel it as I let go of these more and more of these character defects, and I forgive more, and I keep my heart light. and I keep it away from the negative and the anxiety and the fear and the self-pity. I get closer to God. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Miss Linda. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. William, come in and share with us.
Yes, my name is William. I'm alcoholic. When we get to this part of getting to any part of here, giving me a chance to reflect how it was, what happened, how I am today. I remember when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was really poor. See,
William, I can hardly hear you.
yeah, okay. I'm going to try this again. I say whenever we get, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nanny. When I first got to Alcoholics Anonymous, whenever we read stuff like this, it gives me a chance to reflect on how I was when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was thoroughly deep about alcoholism. I was blind by a whole lot of my behavior. I couldn't see it. I didn't believe it. And that was denial. I came to some meeting and I was tell my sponsor all the time. I say, I can't sleep at night. My sponsor said, read the big one. And every time I picked that book up and started reading on my own, I'd go right to sleep. So when I had to come up with some type of solution, I started going to pick the reading and stuff. It began to open up doors, And my sponsor, they would prep me from the start. My sponsor said, if you've done anything that nobody before you have done, you tell me, and I'm going to call up what's and put it in the dictionary so the next person won't be so unique as you are. My sponsor regurgitating all over to me to say stuff that I cringed when she said. But one of the things that really tripped me up whenever I was during my fourth or fifth step was the word thorough. Okay, to me, thorough would say it was perfect. You gotta be perfect. But later on, I learned that word thorough was to the best of my ability at that time. Because in it over here, I like this reading where it say, and I'm gonna say this to old timers, they're throwing nuggets at me, something that I can understand, simple stuff. They said only 10% of the drink, other 90% of the thing. Okay, and they would say just a whole lot of little stuff like that to help me to focus me on what was going on. And this part right here, like it says, anyhow, he was talking about this is an art, what you're going to walk through there. And in the old time, you say something like this. It's not a graduation. It's not a correspondence course. At the end of it, when you go in, this is a journey of life. You live a better life than you did. Little things like that. So that's how I began to open up. That's how I began to share. And I share what I remember at that time. Okay. I put out what I remember at that time. And the part where it say that go to walk a free man, I definitely when I went home and read the proposal again, I felt relief. That I had opened up something. And I think it was a natural thing for me not to do it. And one of the two of the major character defects that kept me from doing that was pride and fear. I had a lot of pride, a lot of fear about it. And most of the stuff I learned later on about those things that I was doing was more this bad stuff, had a whole lot of omission. When I was supposed to be showing up, I wasn't there, but I didn't see that. Because at that time, the pride told me you do such a thing, you can do what you want. And I began to realize that as I say, but the sixth step, they told me withdraw like this. The sixth step is those character defects. And the seventh step is the thing that character defect thing that you should be doing, and the seventh step is the thing that you should. Now, as I begin to stay here for a while, I begin to get educated on alcoholism, told me what to do about it, and told me how to work it. So as I stayed here, and as I moved through these steps and stuff, moved through these as part of the program, I began to see, to share it with my staff, so then I began to get other people that I could share with it too as I began to grow. I began to grow with it because, like I said, with doing that stuff. And how do I do that? Once I became aware of it, I have to go. Willingness and action. And some of it I just moved right through it. Some of it took time. But they told me, I remember it say, if God could help you with your alcoholism, He can help you with anything else. And all I had to do is think what I did about alcohol. I can't even, and I thought it was the most elementary stuff I ever seen. Every day you go to a movie, people talk about alcohol. Talk about alcohol. I said, that's elementary. So if you can wipe away the mania of alcohol, you can do the same thing with those characters. So that's how it all began to go with me. So the thing about it, when I used to, every time I used to wear the read high at work, to say thorough, I never heard the last part. Nobody among us have been able to maintain anything like perfect harmony with these principles. We are not sane. Oh, that came later. But all I heard, thorough. So it sort of kept me there. So my recovery was slow. And I thank God for it. It what helped me with that too, because I wanted to be just like a lot of other people who was moving through it. Back there, it's in the third step of the 12 and 12. He said, put on the shoe that fit you. Even the thing came to me. Put on the shoe that fit your feet. I wear a 10 and a half. What I look like walking down the street with a size 9 on. Yeah, you would hear me holler all the way from the Bronx to Tennessee. And these things that I picked up along the way, today, I'm a free man. I'm at peace. William love himself and love you the same way that I love myself. I try to practice that here while I'm there. And I learned that there is a lives inside of me. A lot of times, just keep my mouth closed when I first start. And go share it with somebody else. But I'm so glad to have this program in my life, and the best life I ever had. But I got alcohol in my mind. And the more I come here, more is being revealed. They told me the same. They told me that. So keep coming. More will be revealed. I have done steps with other people. I do like what you will say. With the spirit, get at the thing. Some got sober, some didn't. I take no responsibility for that one. But I still is open. If you call me, if you talk about, or whatever it is, I'm still open because I see what this disease is capable of doing. I see people who couldn't get it. I see people commit suicide. I see people, and I had suicide thoughts like that. I did. I had suicide thoughts, but I don't think like that because I have a purpose. I continue to do this. And I know as I continue to do this, more is being revealed, other purposes being revealed. But definitely is removing those character defects. Each day, every day. So I continue to do the right job in front of me. So I'm grateful to be here. That's how I do. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. Xavier, good to see you. Come in and share with us.
Hey, good evening. Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Sorry, I came late. It looks like I missed the end of step 5 and 6 and 7, so I'm really bummed. So I'll just share really briefly. My experience with the end of 5, 6, and 7 is, I might have mentioned this before, but by the time I do really thorough step 5, a few things happen. I've gone through and, with regard to all the inventory, the sex inventory, the resentments, the fears, I've found a lot of forgiveness in my heart. And usually the sponsor I'm working with has really helped me see a lot of their experiences as well. So it's very practical. It often helps me see things that I don't always see on my own. And when I reverse roles and I'm the one, giving a fist up and I'm the sponsor, same thing, just share my experience, strength, and hope, and help relate to them. And I also found that as a sponsor, I literally forget everything they said the next day or two. Like, there's some, amnesia. Like, I could care less what they say. Like, I literally forget everything. So it really is confidential, and that's always, I think that's really important. The second thing is, I get to see, in step 3 in chapter 5, when it talks about, running the show, I get to literally see on paper what it looks like when, mini-me, or I call my ego X-Man, when X-Man runs, it's not so good. And it's just anymore, I've literally written down all the bonehead things that I do, whether it's all my goofy fears, all my stupid, sex inventory, all my ridiculous things, all these million resentments, and I get to see, my mistakes, where was I selfish, out of self-seeking pride, and so I get to see when mini-me is actually in charge, how silly it is. The third thing, which is really interesting, is 6 and 7. By now, I'm really pretty hyper aware of a lot of my character defects, because it's kind of like the whole, what I'm not aware of is usually going to control me, and if I'm aware of it, I can do something about it. So my experience is I usually find that I'll see often the same character defects over and over and over and over. And even though they manifest in different resentments in different ways, it tends to be the same character defects. So that by the time I get to 6 and 7, 6, I'm ready to let these go. And if I'm not, at least I have prayers I can do to get ready. And then 7, I can pray for God to remove them. But it makes it a lot easier to remove them, A, when I'm aware that they exist and what they are, and then B, when I see how badly they're hurting me. So I think one of the things I love most about AA is the very practical part of it. If we take these actions, we get these very practical results, like the whole cause and effect. If I want the effects of the promises they give me, they say, I got to do the cause, and the cause are the actions. And then I get to have all these, spiritual experiences daily when I take these actions. And it's really simple. It really, the older I'm getting, especially in this program, the more I'm realizing it's more of a science AA for me. It really is cause and effect. If I do certain things, I'm going to get effects. And I'm learning the laws of the universe. I'm learning the laws of God. And yeah, it's saying over and over, do this, you're going to get that. Do this, you're going to get that. And it's almost more like an exact science. And I really appreciate that for the big book. I get away less in theory, it's less esoteric, and it's more practical. Am I willing to put in the work? And if I do, I get the results that they promise. So that's all I got. Thanks for letting me share. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Xavier. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on our reading tonight. My name is Melissa. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and I want to first thank everybody for being here so I can be of service, and then allowing me to be of service. Because on page 76, it tells me that my real purpose is to be of maximum service to God and the people about us, or the people about me. And the steps show me how I can do that. Today it's Tuesday, and it's the one Tuesday of the month that I get to take a group of people through the 12 steps. And I get an extra day during the month, because you heard me talk about it last week that I did on the Saturday previous. Someone is out sick, and I got the opportunity to step into that. And working with other people, they always said, call that person, because you're probably helping them more than they'll be helping you. And I get that today because it reinforces with me in my mind what the problem is. And I know what the problem is. It reinforces in my head the solution, because as we read in the recovered statement, I'm recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, but I'm not cured. And that recovered depends on my spiritual condition, by the actions that I take. And, I heard something in somebody shared tonight that this is such a spiritual step. And I heard that. I heard that because it is. And that's what I experience. And where it says returning home for an hour where we can be quiet with God. That's only the second time in our book that it tells us to pause. And not having a clear understanding, having my own perception, I was clouded the first time. Probably the first, I don't know, 10 times I did the steps, because there's still some cloudiness there, right? It's progress, not perfection. But understanding the process. And I've done 4. All the writing is done in 4, and then I get to get it all out in 5 with that trusted person and God. And then I get to acknowledge in 6 that what I have the work that I have done in uncovering all of these things that block me. My 4th column in all 3 inventories, those character defects, the blocks. Yes, that's what shuts me off from the sunlight of God's Spirit. And then I'm even given what I should have done instead, or how I get to set matters right. And I get to look at those things. And there hasn't, in the beginning, I knew I could pray for the willingness for the things that I wouldn't let go of. But I didn't know how damaging it would be if I didn't do that. And today I know the importance of that, right? If I'm not willing to do something, well, that doesn't mean I just give up. I pray for the willingness. It tells me that in step 2 too. And it tells me in step 6, if there's a reoccurring theme. If I'm not willing, I pray for the willingness. That doesn't mean I just toss in the towel. I certainly can, because this is a suggested program, but I choose not to. Because I know what it's like to have a better life. I live that today. But I also try to practice these principles in all of my affairs. And so getting back to the work that I was able to do today, there's some things that I didn't know that were making me uneasy until I started writing. And there's something that's coming up that I don't have a resentment towards any of the people that the situation is coming up with. The resentment's gone. I've done that work. But I have a fear because, one, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I've let fear come in. So I had to do some writing. And I was able to do that. And I was able to identify things that are blocking me. And I looked at it and I was like, yep, that's exactly what this is. And God, you can take every single one. And I moved right into that 7-step prayer. And so I may have, which I did, talked to my sponsor after the fact, gone over that 5th step with her. And so done it a little bit out of order. But when I went into that conversation with her, there was still open-mindedness, right? Like, I might have missed something. So I'm coming to her not just to listen, but to give me that constructive feedback as, the third party. And that's where my freedom comes in today, because I'm always going to be here. And as much as I love God and I love walking in His will, well, somebody ate the apple, and that's my experience. And so I'm going to have to deal with most character defects. Some of them are going to come back. And it's not necessarily Like, I have to tell myself that it's okay, you know, I've recognized it. And I'm proactive. Like, I would never be proactive in a situation like this before I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and I recovered, because there was nothing proactive about anything regarding a situation like this. But today, I not only get to live in the moment because of this process specifically, from step 4 through 7, but I'm right where my feet are, so I'm aware, you know. I'm aware of what's coming. Okay, you got a major thing coming up. So how does that make you feel? Does that mean I'm going into the future and sitting there? No, I just want to be armed with the facts about myself when I go into this situation. So I did some writing. Crazy that I'm even saying this out loud, that it's an event that hasn't even happened. But you know what? You guys gave me the tools to live a better life. And I refuse to put them down because I got that life. And so you'll just have to pry them out of my fingers if you want them. No, I will freely give them away. Just kidding. I love you all. Thanks for letting me share. All right, Anthony, come in and share with us.
Good evening, group. My name is Anthony. I'm a New York Pickle. New York Deli Pickle, actually. I appreciate the group for giving me that wonderful name. I'm a pickle. I'll always be a pickle. I thank my higher power for my recovery. I didn't drink today. I'm usually dry goods, and I'm in a meeting. I love coming here on Tuesday. I love going to my home group Monday and Friday, and certainly in Fish. And I thank everybody for their love of service to give me the opportunity to stay dry and clean today. Far away from the drink. I did the steps twice over the years. I go to meetings to listen to other people, to learn how to live my life. Today was a good day. I've been busy all day with my family today, and things popped up. And I just want to let go, let God, you know, control issues. And years ago, I used to drink over stuff like that, but it is what it is. I'm getting senior, I'm getting old. So I'm trying to enjoy my life, man, you know, trying to enjoy my life moment by moment. Pray, enjoy the moment, let it go. I see something come up, let it go. Let God or be dragged, and I'm not trying to be dragged, not at this point. Trying to work on my retirement. I have friends in AA. I'm looking for more friends, so I'll be calling some people later. I need to build my my network of recovery people, but it's okay. Small network is fine, but I just need somebody to help me out with the sponsorship thing, and I'm looking for a sponsor. I have a spiritual advisor. I've talked to him for many, many years. A good guy. We're walking the walk, shoulder to shoulder, and the journey of recovery. And I appreciate him. He's a good brother. We're very, very close. So I like that. I appreciate that. I'll share this. I don't know if I shared it. It probably did. My wife had a serious surgery, and she survived it. Thank God. And I thank God. And I prayed, and I cried, and I prayed, and I cried, and I thank God she survived that surgery. Again, we're getting older, and I know as we get older, we start getting these ailments. So next week, I got to see a bone surgeon. I got to get some exams done on my bones because I'm having problems walking and stuff like that. But thank God I can walk. Just giving it to God, you know, listening to the meeting. A lot of good things are being said. I learned how to achieve my sobriety, you know. I've learned a lot in AA. I wouldn't be here sitting in this car if I didn't come to meetings and work with other people. So I thank AA for that opportunity and the gift of life and the gift to learn how to be sober and stay sober. Basically, that's all I got. I feel I can get a ramble on. And basically, I thank the group for your love and service, and everybody have a nice day. With that, I pass Anthony New Daily Pickle. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Glad you're here. Thank you for sharing that experience, strength, and hope with us. Would anybody else like to come in and share?
I will jump in with our reading then, since we don't have any other hands. From page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Trish. All right, we have a special way of closing out here at Primary Purpose. Since we can't be in the same room and hold hands, we hold our hands up, and we will have a moment of silence for those still sick and suffering in and outside of our rooms, and then we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Who brings us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, folks. Great job, Alyssa. Great
Thanks,
job,
everybody.
Trish.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.